Commander Sarah Chen stood before the massive crystalline windows of the Terran embassy on Centauri Prime, watching the artificial sunset paint the alien sky in shades of purple and gold. Her reflection showed a woman in her 40s, wearing the sleek black uniform of the Terran Defense Force, her silver command pins catching the last rays of light. The message from Earth Central Command had arrived an hour ago. After 3 centuries of patience, the order she had trained her entire career for had finally come. Initiative Omega was now active. Commander. Her eye assistant's voice was carefully modulated to sound calm. The Confederation Council has approved your emergency request to address the full assembly. They're expecting you in 20 minutes. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. How gracious of them to grant humanity an audience on such short notice. The subtle sarcasm in her voice wasn't lost on the eye. The walk to the council chambers was one she had made countless times over her 15-year diplomatic posting. The soaring architecture of the Confederation's seat of power was designed to make lesser species feel small, insignificant. Today, it simply felt hollow. The council chamber itself was packed. All 500 representatives of the Confederation's member species were present, their varied forms filling the tiered seating that rose in a perfect circle around the central speaking platform. The Archminister, a towering Velotian with iridescent scales, gazed down at Sarah with what she had learned to recognize as barely concealed disdain. Commander Chen, the Archminister's translator, rendered his clicks and whistles into standard galactic. The Council recognizes Earth's representative. You may state your emergency. Sarah stepped onto the platform, feeling the subtle hum of scanning beams washing over her, standard procedure to ensure no weapons were brought into the chamber. The irony almost made her laugh. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Confederation, she began, her voice clear and strong. For 312 years, humanity has been a member of this august body. We have followed your regulations, accepted your restrictions, and abided by your technological development guidelines. She paused, letting her gaze sweep the chamber. We have watched as species who joined the Confederation centuries after us were granted rights and privileges that were consistently denied to humanity. We have endured trade restrictions, colonial expansion limits, and the classification of 90% of our research as potentially destabilizing to galactic harmony. The chamber remained silent, but Sarah could see the subtle shifts in posture, the equivalent of uncomfortable shuffling among the various species. Today, I stand before you not to protest these injustices, not to demand reform, but to inform you of humanity's response. She removed a small device from her pocket, nothing more than a simple data cube by Confederation standards. By unanimous vote of Earth's Global Council, as of this moment, humanity hereby withdraws from all Confederation treaties, agreements, and obligations. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, translators struggling to keep up with the overlapping protests. The Archminister's scales flickered in alarm. Commander Chen, this is unprecedented. The economic implications alone will be severe. Sarah cut him off smoothly. For the Confederation. You see, while you were so focused on restricting humanity's visible progress, you never bothered to look deeper. Those technological development guidelines you imposed, we surpassed them within our first decade of membership. Those trade restrictions, they only applied to the technologies we chose to share. She activated the data cube, and a holographic display filled the chamber. It showed the true extent of human space, not the handful of officially recognized colonies, but hundreds of thriving worlds, hidden in supposedly dead systems, powered by technologies the Confederation had deemed impossible. For 3 centuries, you saw what we wanted you to see. You restricted what we allowed you to restrict. And you never, not once, asked yourselves why a species as naturally curious and innovative as humanity would accept such limitations without protest. The silence in the chamber now was absolute, broken only by the soft hum of environmental systems. Within 24 hours, all official human presence will be withdrawn from Confederation space. All human technologies currently in use by Confederation members will cease to function. All trade agreements will be null and void. She smiled, and there was nothing warm in it. And then, honored representatives, you will begin to learn exactly what humanity is capable of when we stop pretending to be less than we are. Before anyone could respond, Sarah stepped off the platform. As she reached the chamber doors, she turned back one last time. A word of advice: don't try to stop us. What you've seen of human military capability is like comparing a child's drawing to a masterpiece. We hid our true strength out of respect for galactic harmony. Don't make us demonstrate it out of necessity. The doors closed behind her with a final, resonant boom. As she walked back to the embassy, Sarah sent the signal that would begin humanity's emergence from its long masquerade. Across Confederation space, human ships were already disappearing from sensors. Human colonies were vanishing behind advanced cloaking fields, and 3 centuries of carefully maintained deception were coming to an end. The game of pretense was over. Now the galaxy would learn the price of underestimating humanity. In orbit above Centauri Prime, Sarah's flagship, the TDS Prometheus, decloaked just long enough to beam her aboard. As the ship prepared to jump to hyperspace, real hyperspace, not the crude version humans had shared with the Confederation, she took one last look at the planet below. "Send the final message to Earth Central," she ordered. "Operation Revelation is underway." The galaxy wanted to keep humanity in its place. They're about to learn that humanity's place is far beyond anything they imagined. The Prometheus vanished in a flash of light that defied every known law of Confederation physics, leaving behind a galaxy it was only beginning to realize the magnitude of its mistake. First researcher Kexry of the Confederation Science Directory pressed his sensory appendages against the observation dome, trying to comprehend what his instruments were telling him. The space around Earth, previously open and bustling with traffic, had become wrong. "Run the analysis again," he clicked to his research team. The holographic displays surrounding them showed readings that violated everything they thought they knew about physics. "Analysis complete," his assistant, Vex, reported. "The field surrounding Sol system remains inconsistent with known space-time parameters. It simultaneously exists and doesn't exist. Our most advanced sensors simply refuse to process it." The phenomenon they were studying had appeared exactly 6 hours after humanity's withdrawal from the Confederation. A barrier of sorts now encased the entire Sol system, but calling it a barrier was like calling a quantum computer a counting tool. It didn't block or reflect energy. It simply made the space it occupied irrelevant to normal physics. In the 3 days since its appearance, 17 research vessels from various Confederation species had attempted to study it. None of their findings made sense. The barrier, which humans were now calling the veil, defied classification. First researcher, Vex's voice held an unusual tremor. "The Arch Council's report has been declassified. You need to see this." The data streaming across Kexry's neural interface made his chromatophores pulse with distress. For 3 centuries, the Confederation had maintained detailed surveillance of human technological development. They had cataloged every advancement, restricted dangerous paths of research, and carefully managed humanity's growth to prevent them from becoming a threat. Or so they had thought. The report revealed a pattern so obvious that its discovery filled Kexry with professional shame. Every human technological advancement that had been documented, every innovation they had shared, had been presented just slightly ahead of when Confederation analysts had predicted they would achieve it. Never too far ahead to cause alarm, but always just enough to maintain the image of a rapidly developing species that needed guidance and restriction. It had been a masterful performance, maintained for 3 centuries. "Display the Prometheus departure analysis," Kexry ordered. The holographic display shifted to show the last known footage of the human flagship. The vessel's disappearance had violated 7 fundamental laws of physics. The energy signature didn't match any known form of faster-than-light travel. It hadn't torn through space like Confederation ships or slipped between dimensions like the Velocians. It had simply chosen to be somewhere else. They were never following our development path. Vex realized, her neural tendrils writhing in agitation. They were developing their own physics, their own understanding of the universe. Kexri's response was interrupted by a priority alert. Another research vessel, this one from the prestigious Arcturus Science Academy, had attempted to probe the veil with an experimental quantum scanner. The scanner, representing the pinnacle of Confederation measurement technology, had sent back a single data packet before disintegrating. The packet contained 3 words in perfect standard galactic. "Nice try, humanity." Across Confederation space, similar revelations were causing widespread panic. The merchant guilds were the first to realize the full implications. Humanity hadn't just been sharing technology. They had been seeding dependent technologies throughout Confederation infrastructure. Critical systems that everyone had assumed were based on shared scientific principles were beginning to fail. In the Sirius trading hub, First Merchant Trellix watched in horror as the quantum communication network, backbone of galactic commerce, stuttered and died. The replacement systems, hastily activated, were crude and slow by comparison. Trade calculations that had taken milliseconds now required hours. "How deep does this go?" he demanded of his technical staff. The answer, when it came, was devastating. Humanity hadn't just shared technology. They had shared deliberately incomplete technology. Critical components that appeared to function on known principles actually relied on human-designed elements that operated on completely different laws of physics. As these components failed, centuries of accumulated technological development was being undone. On Centauri Prime, the Confederation Council convened an emergency session. The chamber that had witnessed Commander Chen's declaration was now filled with the representatives of panicking civilizations. The Helios Banking Consortium reports total system failure, one representative announced. Their entire financial network relied on human quantum encryption protocols. The Orion Defense Fleet is operating at 40% capacity, another added. Critical targeting systems are non-functional without human tech support. The Archminister's scales had lost their luster, turning a dull gray of extreme stress. How did we not see this coming? How did they hide so much for so long? In the debris field known as the Arcturus Graveyard, a Confederation patrol fleet made an even more disturbing discovery. The supposedly uninhabitable system, long used as a dumping ground for space debris, was empty. Centuries of accumulated wreckage had vanished, and long-range scans suggested extensive construction had taken place beneath the debris field. Humanity hadn't just been hiding their technology. They had been building in plain sight, using the Confederation's own blind spots as cover. Back in his research dome, Kexri received a message from an old human colleague, Dr. Sarah Jung from the Mars Research Institute. The message was simple. "The universe is bigger than your equations, old friend. When you're ready to learn instead of restrict, we'll be here." Attached was a single equation that, when Kexri analyzed it, proved that one of the Confederation's fundamental physical laws was not just wrong, but hilariously incomplete. It was like discovering that someone had been doing advanced calculus while you were proudly mastering addition. "They're not just ahead of us," he realized, his scientific mind both horrified and thrilled. "They're playing a completely different game." As the veil continued its impossible existence around Sol's system, the galaxy was beginning to realize that humanity hadn't just withdrawn from the Confederation. They had outgrown it. The question now wasn't how to bring humanity back into the fold, but how to deal with a civilization that had been operating far beyond their understanding all along. And somewhere behind the veil, humanity was finally letting their true technological revolution unfold in the open, free from the pretense of limitation they had maintained for 300 years. Grand Economist Val Ith of the Galactic Commerce Authority stood before the emergency session of the Confederation Council, his normally pristine silver robes wrinkled from days without rest. The holographic displays behind him told a story of unprecedented economic collapse. "The situation is beyond our ability to control," he admitted, his translator struggling to convey the depth of distress in his harmonic voice. We're not just facing a market correction. The entire foundation of our economic system is unraveling. The displays showed cascading failures across every sector of galactic commerce. Industries that had seemed independent of human influence were discovering hidden dependencies. Manufacturing processes believed to be purely alien in origin turned out to require trace elements that only humans had known how to refine properly. But how? Demanded Representative Zix of the mercantile worlds. How did we become so dependent without knowing? Val Ith gestured, and the display shifted to show a complex web of technological and economic interconnections. They were brilliant in their subtlety. Humans didn't just trade with us. They deliberately introduced innovations that seemed to work on known principles, but actually relied on their hidden science. In the Rigel manufacturing hub, entire production lines ground to a halt as seemingly basic materials began behaving differently. The high-strength polymers used in everything from starship hulls to medical equipment were degrading at impossible rates. The human engineers who had helped design these materials had apparently built in expiration dates at the molecular level, dates that had all just come due. But it was the Mars incident, as it came to be known, that truly demonstrated the gulf between human capabilities and Confederation understanding. Admiral Lan of the Confederation Observer Fleet watched in stunned silence as the red planet transformed before their long-range sensors. What began as a strange atmospheric disturbance quickly escalated into something that should have been impossible. Enhancement confirmed, his sensor officer reported unnecessarily. They could all see it happening. There, terraforming Mars. In real time. The process defied everything the Confederation knew about planetary engineering. Massive machines of unknown design emerged from hidden underground bases, their energy signatures unlike anything in known space. They didn't slowly transform the atmosphere or gradually introduce water. They simply rewrote the physical properties of the entire planet. Mountains shifted like liquid. Oceans appeared not from melted ice caps, but from what seemed to be spontaneous molecular reconstruction of the planet's crust. A magnetosphere snapped into existence as if someone had flipped a switch, and the atmosphere thickened with perfectly calibrated gases in hours rather than centuries. "Sir," his communication officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. Audio only." The voice that filled the bridge was cheerful, almost casual. "Confederation Observer Fleet. This is Dr. Elena Rodriguez at the Mars Reconstruction Center. Just a friendly reminder to keep your distance during the process. Some of the quantum fields we're using might be a bit problematic for your sensor systems. Wouldn't want to fry your equipment." The transformation of Mars took exactly 1 week. The Confederation's best estimates had suggested terraforming the planet would take at least 500 years using known science. Humanity had done it in 7 days, and the casual way they announced it suggested this wasn't even close to the limits of their capabilities. But the true shock came when analysis of the new Mars revealed something even more impossible. The humans hadn't just terraformed the planet, they had rewritten its history. Geological scans showed evidence of billions of years of natural evolution that hadn't existed a week ago. They hadn't just made Mars habitable. They had made it seem as if it had always been habitable. In the Confederation Council chamber, the implications were causing panic. If they can rewrite planetary geology, one representative noted, how do we know they haven't done it elsewhere? How many of our uninhabitable systems have they already claimed and hidden? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. Long-range scans of supposedly dead systems began picking up impossible readings. Systems classified as uninhabitable were showing signs of advanced civilization, hidden behind the same physics-defying technology that now surrounded Sol. On Earth, Commander Sarah Chen stood in the new Mars Control Center, watching the final stages of the planet's transformation. The view through the quantum glass windows showed vast oceans under a blue sky, while the original red planet was still visible in old Confederation surveillance feeds. "Status report," she ordered. Her AI assistant, now free to display its true capabilities, responded instantly. Phase 3 proceeding as planned. The Confederation has detected approximately 12% of our hidden colonies. Their economic systems are showing predicted stress patterns. The veil is functioning perfectly, and the Mars demonstration has achieved its intended psychological impact. Sarah nodded, watching a flock of genetically engineered birds soar past the window. Animals designed to accelerate the development of Mars' new ecosystem. And the timeline. The Confederation's technological regression is proceeding faster than projected. Without access to our quantum baseline tech, they're falling back to pre-contact levels in many sectors. Several member species are already preparing to withdraw from the Council. This was the true masterstroke of humanity's plan. They hadn't just hidden their advanced technology. They had deliberately guided the Confederation's development down dead-end paths, ensuring that when humanity finally revealed itself, the gap would be unbridgeable. Send the signal to initiate Phase 4, Sarah ordered. It's time to show them what we can really do. As her order went out, hidden human installations across the galaxy prepared to reveal themselves. The Confederation was about to learn that losing access to human technology was just the beginning. The real demonstration of power was yet to come. In the depths of space, countless points of light began to shine as humanity's hidden worlds emerged from their quantum veils. Each one represented not just a colony, but an entire civilization operating on principles the Confederation had never imagined possible. The game of hide and seek was ending, and humanity was about to show why they had never needed the Confederation's approval in the first place. The Arcturus Observation Station was considered the most advanced deep space facility in Confederation space. Its quantum sensors could detect a shuttle launch from 50 light-years away. Its computing systems could model the gravitational interactions of entire star clusters. And right now, every single one of its instruments was going haywire. Director Nilzek, her crystalline form reflecting the chaos of emergency lighting, watched as new signatures appeared across every sensor screen. In regions of space long classified as dead zones, quantum barriers similar to Earth's veil were dissolving, revealing something impossible. Confirmation from all sectors, her chief analyst reported, additional eyes sprouting from stress. We're detecting fully developed civilizations in 37 previously uninhabited systems. And more are appearing every hour. The nearest revelation was occurring in the Perseus Dead Zone, a region notorious for its intense radiation and hostile environment. As the quantum barrier faded, it revealed not the expected wasteland, but a thriving solar system. Massive orbital structures surrounded a transformed sun, their design completely alien to Confederation architecture. The planet below showed signs of centuries of development, with cities that seemed to defy physics itself. Incoming transmission, the communication officer announced. They're using our most secure diplomatic channel, the one we thought was unbreakable. The holographic display activated, showing a human woman in an unfamiliar uniform. Greetings. Director Nilzek. I'm Governor Rebecca Chen of New Terra. We thought it was time for a proper introduction. The name made Nilzek's crystalline structure vibrate in shock. Chen, related to Commander Sarah Chen. My sister, Rebecca confirmed with a smile. While she maintained our facade in your space, I've been overseeing one of humanity's real colonial developments. Would you like a tour? The tour, transmitted in real time despite supposed technological limitations, revealed a civilization that shouldn't have been possible. The cities weren't just built on the planet's surface, they were integrated with it at a quantum level. Buildings shifted and transformed based on their inhabitants' needs. Transportation happened through local space-time manipulation rather than vehicles. How long? Nilzek managed to ask. How long has this been here? This colony? About 200 years, Rebecca answered casually. We established it while the Confederation was busy debating whether to allow us a third official colony world. The radiation that made this system uninhabitable was actually quite useful once we learned to interface with it properly. Similar revelations were occurring across the galaxy. The Confederation's carefully maintained maps were becoming obsolete as human quantum veils dropped, revealing centuries of hidden development. Each colony demonstrated technologies that operated on principles the Confederation had never even theorized. In the Carina Nebula, a region thought too turbulent for habitation, a massive Dyson swarm emerged from quantum concealment. The structure wasn't just collecting energy from the local stars. It was actively managing the nebula itself, using the cosmic forces as a power source in ways that made Confederation scientists question their understanding of physics. On Centauri Prime, the Confederation Council received reports from increasingly panicked member worlds. The humans hadn't just hidden their colonies, they had built an entire parallel civilization, while maintaining the facade of a restricted, developing species. Report from the Orion sector. An aide announced during the emergency session. The humans have revealed a network of quantum gates linking their hidden colonies. They'd been using instantaneous travel while we were restricting them to basic hyperdrive technology. The Archminister, watching his carefully managed galaxy transform before his eyes, received a private message from Earth. It was from Commander Chen and contained only a single sentence: "Ready for those trade negotiations now." In the New Terra Command Center, Rebecca Chen met with her sister via quantum link, a technology so advanced it made Confederation FTL communication look like smoke signals. Their response? Sarah asked, her hologram showing her now on Mars' transformed surface. "Pretty much what we expected," Rebecca replied. Complete psychological shock. The Arcturus station nearly shut down when we showed them our quantum manufacturing centers. Watching them try to understand our basic colony tech was like watching a child discover that their toy phone isn't actually making real calls. Sarah nodded, looking out over the Martian landscape that had been transformed in days. And the other colonies, all revealed on schedule. The Prometheus Collective and the Carina Nebula made quite an impression. Turns out the Confederation never imagined you could use quantum engineering to domesticate an entire nebula. The sisters shared a knowing look. This had been the plan all along, not just to hide humanity's development, but to create an unbridgeable technological gap. While the Confederation had restricted humanity's official progress, humans had been developing technologies so advanced they appeared magical by comparison. In orbit around New Terra, the Confederation observation fleet watched in stunned silence as the colony demonstrated its daily operations. Massive structures rearranged themselves like living things. Citizens teleported casually between buildings. Manufacturing facilities created complex materials from seemingly nothing, manipulating matter at the quantum level. "You know what the really funny part is?" Rebecca mused to her sister. "We're still only showing them the basics. Wait until they see what we can really do." Sarah's hologram smiled. "One shock at a time, sister. Let them adjust to the fact that we've colonized half their dead systems before we show them the dimensional engineering projects." As if to emphasize her point, a new alert caught Rebecca's attention. Another quantum veil was dropping, this time in the Pleiades sector. Another hidden human civilization was about to demonstrate just how far humanity had advanced, while playing the role of obedient junior members of the Confederation. The galaxy was learning a lesson that would reshape its future. Never assume a species is showing you everything they can do. Humanity hadn't just survived under the Confederation's restrictions. They had thrived beyond imagination, building a civilization so advanced it made their supposed superiors look primitive by comparison. The Confederation Council chamber, once a symbol of galactic authority, now felt more like a classroom, where the students had suddenly realized their teachers had been in kindergarten all along. The emergency session had been running for 3 days straight as reports of human revelations continued to flood in. The Archminister's scales had turned an unprecedented shade of white when the latest report arrived. Humanity had begun offering technological assistance to younger species who had suffered under similar restrictions. Not out of spite, but because, as Commander Chen put it, someone should actually help developing civilizations instead of just claiming to. The Proxima Accords have been signed. announced Representative Kettle of the diplomatic corps, their tentacles twisted in agitation. 37 species have already withdrawn from the Confederation to join humanity's new Open Development Initiative. In the space above New Terra, Rebecca Chen was conducting another demonstration for a group of diplomatic observers. This time, she wasn't bothering to simplify things for their benefit. This, she explained as a massive structure assembled itself from seemingly nothing, is what we call quantum architecture. The building isn't being constructed, it's being convinced to exist. She smiled at their blank expressions. Think of it as suggesting to reality that it would be more interesting with a city there. The observers watched in stunned silence as an entire metropolis emerged from quantum probability, its structures incorporating technologies that their best scientists couldn't even begin to theorize. But it wasn't just the technology that shocked them, it was the casual way humans wielded it. On Mars, Sarah Chen was having a similar conversation with the former Confederation Science Directory, now humble visitors seeking understanding. The red planet's transformation had been just the beginning. The entire Sol system had become a showcase of what humanity had been hiding. Your fundamental mistake, Sarah explained, watching a group of engineers manipulate quantum fields with the ease of children playing with blocks, wasn't restricting us. It was assuming we would let those restrictions define us. Above them, the sky rippled with colors that shouldn't exist as humanity's quantum engineering teams fine-tuned Mars' new atmosphere. Ships appeared and disappeared through tiers in reality, using transportation technology that made traditional FTL look like walking. In the Carina Nebula, the Prometheus Collective was demonstrating why humanity had never feared running out of resources. Massive structures that dwarfed gas giants transformed stellar matter directly into whatever materials were needed. The nebula itself had become both power source and manufacturing center, its cosmic forces harnessed in ways that redefined what was possible. We call it stellar engineering, explained Dr. Marcus Wong to a group of wide-eyed Confederation scientists. Though really, it's more like having a conversation with space-time, and politely asking it to rearrange itself more efficiently. The Confederation's attempt to contain humanity had failed so completely that it had become a galaxy-wide joke. Species that had once looked down on humans were now desperately seeking their guidance. The very restrictions meant to keep humanity limited had instead forced them to develop technologies so advanced they barely seemed like technology at all. In orbit around Earth, the last of the quantum veils dissolved, revealing the cradle of humanity in its true form. The planet wasn't just restored, it was transformed. Cities floated in the sky, oceans had been cleaned and filled with engineered life, and the scars of early industrialization had been erased as if they had never existed. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the new Earth Control Center, preparing to address the galaxy. The message would be broadcast through quantum channels that would reach every corner of known space instantly. For centuries, she began, humanity played the role you expected of us. We acted less capable than we were, less advanced than we had become. Not out of fear, but because we recognized something you had forgotten. True civilization isn't about power. It's about wisdom. The broadcast showed images from across human space, the hidden colonies now revealed, the transformed worlds, the technologies that operated on principles the Confederation had never imagined possible. We could have revealed ourselves at any time. We could have responded to your restrictions with force. Instead, we chose to wait, to develop, to perfect our understanding of the universe, while you congratulated yourselves on keeping us contained. In the Confederation Council chamber, the representatives watched in silence as their worldview crumbled. Today, we offer a choice, Sarah continued. The Confederation can continue its policy of restriction and control, watching as more species choose to join our Open Development Initiative. Or it can acknowledge that true progress comes not from limiting potential, but from embracing it. The response was immediate. Within hours, the Confederation Council voted to dissolve its technological restriction policies. Within days, joint development projects were being established with human guidance. The galaxy was transforming, not through force or conquest, but through the simple revelation that everything they thought they knew about physics, technology, and human capability had been hilariously wrong. 1 month after humanity's revelation, the Archminister stood before the newly formed Galactic Development Council, a body where humans held the senior positions not by demand, but by unanimous request of other species. We thought we were protecting the galaxy by restricting human development, he admitted in his resignation speech. Instead, we forced them to develop beyond our ability to comprehend. Our attempt to contain them only ensured that when they finally revealed themselves, the gap between us would be unbridgeable. In the new Terra Quantum Engineering Center, Rebecca Chen received an alert from one of the deep space monitoring stations. Another young civilization had achieved faster-than-light travel, using the same crude methods humanity had once demonstrated to the Confederation. "Should we make contact?" her eye assistant asked. Rebecca smiled, watching the newly spacefaring species take their first tentative steps into the galaxy. "Yes, but this time, let's show them what's really possible right from the start. The age of restriction is over. It's time for everyone to see just how far they can go." The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity hadn't needed to fight for its place among the stars. They had simply waited, developed, and let the truth of their advancement speak for itself. The price of underestimating humanity wasn't paid in conflict or destruction. It was paid in the complete reorganization of galactic civilization around the species everyone had tried so hard to keep down.